this person is ready for some Kinstretch. Hope you are too. Welcome to a latest edition of Kinstretch from the Fitness Alchemists. Really excited about this class because this is going to be a deep dive into improving and upgrading the shoulder joint, but really also looking at how that area is sort of a junction point for dysfunction that can be happening in this upper back, the elbows, the wrists, and the neck. So for today's class, you're going to want a little floor space for sure. We'll be inside lying a bit for the end. And then also a bit of wall space just for the warm-up. It can be a very small amount of wall space, but I think you're going to like how we'll use it to train the neck. Also, you see Hannah's fashion choice here today. That's my hat, but she is wearing it excellently, and she's going to use it for some head support on the wall a little later. So if you have something like that, a nice fluffy beanie, that would be great to grab.
Pom-pom optional.
A towel though would work just fine, and you're gonna want the towel for later as well. So if you need to, press pause and grab whatever props you've got, and we'll get started. All right, so we're gonna get going here just with some cars to start. So get into any comfortable tall kneeling or seated position and shoot those fists out in front of you. We'll start with some scapular motion. Take a moment to feel your elbow joints fully lock out. Notice what muscles turn on in the back of your arms to make that happen. And then let's go through your scapular car, sliding the shoulder blades forward, stretching them apart, and then shrugging up. Slide them back and together, and then down. Keep going in this circle. You're on the clock, and I want you to really just tune into the sensations that you're feeling. Definitely the sensations of contraction, starting in your fists and your elbows and in your shoulders and upper back. But also tune into the contraction you might find on the front of your rib cage, any stretches that you might feel in your neck, between your shoulder blades, maybe on your chest. And do your best to keep those arms parallel to the ground the whole time. So go ahead, pause wherever you're at, go the other direction. I like to imagine that I've placed a big tray on Hannah's arms here, and she's trying to keep that tray flat even as she moves from the scapular joint. All right, see if you can make that happen. Keep breathing, but use that breath to notice that ab contraction. Your ribs would love to move to pretend that you have more scapular motion. So keep them locked in. Great. And then go ahead and relax that, shake it out. And if it's convenient and feels good for you, go ahead and bring your hands behind you. I'm just gonna have you turn around for a second. Just like this, with your fists together. If that feels really grouchy on your shoulders, you could go straight arms down to the floor and reach your arms down. But either option kind of locks in your scapula. So if you're able to get those hands together, pull your shoulder blades down and back so your shoulder joints feel like they're at end range. And then we're going to use this position, or again, that straight arm position, your choice, for some neck cars. Pull chin into neck, pull chin to chest. Try to really round out the whole back of your neck. And then once you've done that, start rotating to look over and behind one shoulder. Tip your head back. Go slow enough that you can consciously take in all of those sensations you might be feeling in stretch or in contraction. Finish turning your chin all the way over to that other side, and then when you get to your chest, pause, and let's go the other direction. So we're just going back and forth, warming up the neck segments as best you can. Just like the rest of your spine, your neck is not just one thing, but it's several things that work together to give you the function of a neck. So to let you rotate, to let you look up and down. So really try to feel each segment contributing as you turn for this second rep. Especially as you reach your chin to the ceiling, try to feel all those segments shorten on the back and lengthen on the front. Come all the way around. Chin to chest. Pause there and go one more rep in that second direction. So you're looking over your left shoulder if you started with your right. As you're going through here, that we use this arm position to just monitor if the shoulders are trying to move along with the head. And for a neck car, we want to only move the neck joint so the shoulders stay put. All right, and let that relax. And we're going to go now to the shoulder car. Again, we're going to be focusing a ton on the shoulder today. So let's just go ahead and start out by reaching your arm out in front of you, your choice which side. And before you do the full car, just spend a second doing that capsule rotation. So you roll your bicep inward into glenohumeral internal rotation and then outward. And as you do that, bring some awareness to your neck area. You could use your hand for that. And feel that the scapula is not shrugging up, especially as you internally rotate. And in fact, as you externally rotate, you might feel your scapula anchor down your back. Try to keep that feeling as you continue exploring rotation. All right. And on your next external rotation, hold it, really max it out, and cut that arm across your body. Feel your chest tissue contract. And then keeping your arm straight, reach up overhead. Find your sticking point where you might run into a wall if it was next to you. And start rolling away to reach behind you at that sticking point. Again, stay with a 50% effort here for the warm-up so you can maximize your awareness of what's going on. It's a very complex set of joints all working together to make this circle happen. So definitely no need to rush through it. Take your time. You're on the clock. Don't worry about your reps. Second rep, zoom in on your contraction feeling. So really try to notice that sensation of tissues getting shorter and contracting, and connect that to the actual motion of your arm bones. Great. Take another 20 seconds. Wherever you're at, luxuriating in the sensations that you're finding. Great stuff. Wrap it up here. Take a breath to just clear the system. Let your brain come off tension, just like you let your arm come off tension. All right, and then reach that other arm out. Start with that capsule rotation. If you want to use your other hand to lend some biofeedback, that's a good idea. But if you find that that hand helps you maybe monitor your rib cage, that works as well. One of our favorite parts of Kinstretch is how many options there are. It's really not a fixed thing. So just finding that rotation. We're going to explore this quite a bit today. So see as best you can, what does it feel like to actually contract into your end range? What tissue feels like it's working to finish that internal or external rotation? On this next external rotation, hold it, cut the arm across your body, and we're going to get going with 1 minute of shoulder cars. As you begin rolling that arm to reach behind you, check in on your spine, not turning to face that arm, but your body is just a muscly statue with one moving part, that arm. Very nice. As you continue through, really zoom in on the contraction feeling and notice how that contraction helps you get into end range positions. Good stuff. Take that time, 20 more seconds. Very nice. Breathing around active abs, reaching for just a little bit more length in the arm, a little bit more workspace in that circle. Great. Okay. All right, now we're going to finish our warm-up with just some of that neck contraction. So I'm going to have Hannah come up to standing and just take a look real quick because whether you have a beanie or a towel, you're going to want to see the options here. So if you have a beanie on, you can just use that and you don't need to really engage your arms at all, but you're going to just use the little lean of your body into the wall to lightly press your head against the wall, and when you do, you'll notice some contraction in your neck. So we'll get started with it in a second. If you're using the towel, on the other hand, you're going to want to just hold it with two hands, kind of place it up on the wall, and lean your head in, and then see if you can relax your neck and your traps. So you're just using just enough arm tension to hold the towel on the wall. All right? Hannah's got the beanie, so I'm going to take that towel from her, and we will get into it. So we'll start with just that forehead pressure on the wall. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm thinking a 2 or 3 in terms of how much pressure you're actually putting into the wall. Enough that you feel some contraction on the front of your neck, but not so much that it feels sketchy or even fatiguing, okay? If you don't feel that contraction on your neck, but you are creating pressure, I want you to take a hand and just place it on your throat area so you can get some feedback of, oh yeah, I do feel some stiffening muscle tissue there, all right? Go ahead and slowly start rolling your forehead back and forth and notice how that contraction changes line on your neck. So this is really a chance to invite some very safe feeling isometric contractions in your neck. Is a major component of spinal stability generally, and especially at your neck, are the little isometric contractions that your brain fires off to keep your head upright as your body moves around. It's really an amazing capacity that we have. All right. Take a few more seconds here exploring what you find. If you feel a line that really doesn't feel strong, you might just pause there and press a little bit harder with your forehead. And then go ahead, come off the wall and turn around. We're going to do the same thing with the back of the crown of your head. So you can see Hannah's just stepping a little away from the wall. If you're using the towel here, you just want to hold it with your hands behind you and then start by lightly pressing into the wall. Key point here is that you're not letting your neck collapse into flexion, but you're just feeling some tension assert. Go ahead and gently start rolling side to side. And if anyone at your house is giving you a hard time for rolling your head against the wall while wearing a beanie, you just have them call us, okay? I'd be happy to let them know what you're doing. Back and forth. Good. Okay, if you're able to continue rolling onto one side of the crown of your head, if you're using that towel, you can just kind of reset up and aim for that side of your head. And again, if you need that feedback, you can place a hand on your neck, on the side of your neck now, and feel those tissues working. It's one of those situations where they can't not work. They must be working if you're creating any pressure into the wall. It's a whole other story of whether you can feel it or not, but at this point, you just want to invite that contraction and that sensation to come up for you. A few more seconds on this side. And then go ahead and shift over to the other side. And we'll spend just 30 seconds on this side, exploring what contractions you can find on that other side of your neck. Really taking your time, checking in if you start to feel that threat sensation come up. You can always back off pressure. You can always pause and hold. Great. And go ahead and wrap that up. All right. So just take a moment Take a breath, feel how your neck feels different. If you'd like to take a pause and do another set of neck cars, that would be a great idea. But we're gonna keep moving and get into some shoulder stretches. See you in a moment. And we're back. Hannah lost her awesome hat. You can definitely take the beanie off if you still have the beanie on, or you can keep it on if it's keeping you warm. But we're gonna now get into probably our favorite way to stretch your shoulder capsule, which is going to be a side-lying position. Here's where you can grab your block or your towel for a little pillow under your head. And you're going to just lay down on your side, comfortable knee bend. Try to set those knees roughly in front of your hips. And then your bottom arm, you're going to reach out in front of you so that your scapula is sort of sliding off the side of your rib cage and it's out in front. Okay? And then from here, you're going to bend your arm and take a moment to try to walk that bottom shoulder away from your ear, okay? So you're just going to take a second and try to walk that down. Sometimes I find that if I can get the pillow to kind of like block that area on the neck. It helps me monitor if that scapula starts to try to hike up towards the ear. And we want to keep the neck long here throughout this stretch. All right. And then from here, that bent arm is the one we're going to be working on, stretching. And you can just start gently rotating that back and forth, just like Hannah's showing. And this is very similar to the rotation that we started our glenohumeral cars with. Also a capsule car, now just with a bent elbow. Okay? When your knuckles come towards the floor on your face side, that's external rotation, and we'll work on that a bit later. But as it goes towards the floor near your belly button, that's internal rotation, and that's what we're going to want to stretch. So use your top hand on your wrist of that bottom arm, and go ahead and start finding a stretch. So you want to use that top arm as sort of a passive stretching helper, and you want to be real delicate here. This is a case where you stretching yourself is so much higher level than anyone else stretching you, because you have access to all those sensory feedback loops, and you can really feel where does the stretching sensation start, how scary feeling does this stretch feel. If it's scary here at this point, you're going to want to just back off to a place of internal rotation that is not threatening to your nervous system. That's especially the case if this is brand new. If it isn't brand new, then you might know this setup a little bit better and be able to trust that stretch sensation as you get into it. All right? So just settling into that stretch, take a few deep breaths here. And one major piece we're going to be working on today is how the position of your elbow changes that sensation of stretch. So you can see right now Hannah's forearm is rotated so that the watch face is kind of up towards the ceiling or up towards her nose. That's one position for your elbow. But go ahead and just explore how you could roll or rotate your forearm so that your watch face would face away the other direction. And then settle into a stretch on that side. Notice the difference. All right? Take a couple deep breaths there. Now gently rotate that watch face in the first direction. And we're going to start with a light isometric contraction from here. So 20 to 30% maximum is all we'll be working with today for the Pales contractions. Begin that Pales contraction by trying to lift your bottom wrist upwards, but feeling blocked by the top arm. So this top arm is like a strong, immovable object that you're starting to push your bottom wrist against. As you register that contraction somewhere in your bottom shoulder joint, slowly and smoothly begin ramping up the intensity of that contraction. So the more effort you give, the more you're hunting for that rotational feeling through your upper arm. Ramp it up to 15%. Keep going to 20 if it feels safe. And all the way to 30% if it feels safe to do so. If 15% was your edge of safety, then that's where you're going to camp out here for 15 more seconds. And while you're holding this contraction, you can really think that you are sending a clear signal right to your shoulder joint. Probably no way that you could send a more clear signal than what we're doing right here. And go ahead and ramp down that contraction. All right? If you need to, you can give that shoulder a moment to breathe and just move. But if it feels all right, you're going to twist the elbow joint around so your forearm is facing the other way. Take a moment to hunt for the stretch in this setup. Feel how it's a little different. And now let's gradually start ramping into another Pale's contraction, trying to gently lift your bottom wrist into the immovable top arm. Ramp that up to 10% of your maximum effort, 15, 20 if it feels safe, 25%, and 30%. Hold it there for a nice 15-second hold. Breathing, but also feeling some tension alive in your body. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and relax. And stay on this side lying position. Take your top arm away. And let's just do some more capsule rotations with that top arm. So you just rotate your arm so your knuckles go up towards your nose, and then back into that internally rotated position. Back and forth, introducing some motion to that capsule that you were just stretching at your shoulder. Okay. And then on this next pass into internal rotation, really try to max out how much you can rotate. Don't let your elbow open, so don't let that fist come towards the floor in front of you, but really restrict it to internal rotation. Okay? Settle in there to internal rotation, and now use your top arm to try to pry your arm out of internal rotation. So now it's not on the top of your wrist, but like Hannah's showing, right on those knuckles. She's trying to lift the bottom arm, but this helps the bottom arm feel a rails contraction. Really lock into that rails contraction, keep it happening, and slowly take your top hand away, and you might just notice that you can unlock a few more degrees of active internal rotation. Hold this. This is a nice pure rails contraction. Any extra signal you can send, go for it. 10 more seconds. And if you're really lost and you don't feel that contraction anymore, you can use that top hand still. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Okay? Come off of tension and gently come out of that position so we can set up on the other side. Nice. Okay. So on this side again, start by scooching that bottom arm out in front of you so you don't feel like you're crushing onto the side of your shoulder, but that shoulder is scooched out. And then try to make your neck long. So either use your top hand to feel some space there and walk your scapula down, or if you have a nice big pillow, you can kind of smash it in there and fill that space on that bottom side of your neck. Okay. And then bend your bottom elbow, start some gentle capsule rotations. So I wanted to take this second while you're exploring this rotation to just comment on a very common complaint we get about capsule work for the shoulder, which is that it's kind of boring and it's kind of subtle. And Hannah's nodding along because we hear this quite a bit. But the reality is, if we in all of our time training and learning and studying had found anything that even came close to being as effective for improving shoulder function as this, we would jump right on it. But the reality is this can be a game changer, even at 10 or 15% effort. So if you have that little voice in your head going, is this really working? Is this doing anything? First of all, I hear you. Second of all, give it a shot. Really give it your best effort and see at the end how different your shoulders feel, and you might just know what we're talking about. Okay, so settle into your most internally rotated position. Think watch face towards your chest or towards your face, and then use that top hand to settle into a stretch. We always know that your passive stretch is going to be more than your active rotation. So as you set that arm on, you should find, oh yeah, I can take my arm into a little bit more stretch. If you have pain going into that stretch, then you're not going to push hard with the top hand. You're just going to use that hand as a brace as we start our pales contraction. So just taking some deep, settling breaths. And from here, let's start up a very light pales contraction. So that would be the effort with your bottom arm of trying to unwind this rotation of your shoulder, but the top hand is providing a nice, sturdy, immovable object against. Ramp this up to 10% effort, 15% effort, 20% effort, and then keep building that effort if it feels safe to do so, all the way up to 30% where we will camp out and hold for 15 seconds. Great. Last 5 seconds here, sustaining that stable effort, and let it melt away. And then rotate your watch face the opposite direction so that your the bottom of your wrist is now facing up towards your nose. You can use that top hand to help you wring that out. And then again, settle into a stretch and notice how this is different. So the real difference has to do with the various nerve tracks that you have down your arm. You have a nerve that goes down the outside of your arm and a nerve that goes down the inside or medial side of your arm. And we're all just a little different in terms of how tight those nerves feel. And we're stretching nerves as well when we're doing this work. Nerves, muscles, tendons, all of it.
Fascia.
Fascia, Hannah's favorite word.
That could be one of our founders' chats. Fascia or fascia?
Tomato or tomato?
Yeah.
Discuss. Okay, now from this position of your forearm, let's start ramping up a gentle pales contraction. That is trying to lift your bottom wrist upward as the result of trying to unwind your upper arm. Gently bring it up to 10%, 15%, 20%, and then continue building as it feels safe and strong to do so, all the way to 30%. And let's hold it here. Wherever you're at, don't let the effort fall down at all. Keep your intensity and your focus clear so that the contraction stays consistent for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax into a stretch. And then gently take that top arm away, and let's just do a little interlude of some capsule rotations for that bottom arm. Yeah. We were commenting on this yesterday during the live class that sometimes when you come out of a isometric position at end range, it can always feel a little woogie. And so just going slow, being gentle with your body, and trying to connect the dots of that strong sensation you just had in isometric with this rotational motion. Get your brain up to speed with what's new at your capsule. All right. Now on this next pass into internal rotation, really work for it. Try to find as much active effort as you can, and then use your top hand to hook onto your knuckles, and try with that top hand to pull the hand out of position, and this should help engage the rails contraction in that bottom arm. Zoom in on that feeling, ramp it up so you're making your knuckles heavy into your hand, and then slowly take that top hand away, and you might just notice that you unlock a little bit more. Nice. Okay, Hannah found about 2 or 3 more degrees. You might find 10 or 15 more degrees. It just depends. Hold this rails contraction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax it. Great work, okay? In terms of where you might feel it, I'm curious, Hannah, where did you feel that rails contraction?
It's like I feel stuff deep in the armpit working, and then a little bit down into like serratus lat ribs land.
Yep.
It's clearer on this side than this side for sure.
Yeah, so all of that is spot on. That's really the tissue that pulls you into internal rotation is all going to be under your armpit. Very weird to feel it if you've never felt it before. Okay, so we'll get back to that in a moment. Go ahead and flip over to your first side. And whenever you return to a position, the reason we want to do that is because it's so much more clear the second time. So as you get set up here, sliding that bottom arm out, making your neck long, and then settling into an internally rotated position, I want you to select which position of your wrist feels the most useful to you. That might mean that the stretch feels like, oh my God, that stretch feels so good. Or it might be like, wow, this feels totally new. I've never felt that stretch before. Both of those would be great reasons to select either wrist watch towards your face or wrist watch towards the ground. That is elbow pronation or elbow supination. If you feel fancy. Okay, so Hannah, have you picked which one you want?
Yeah.
Okay, so she's going to work there, and we're going to ramp up another pales contraction, just one. So pick the setup for your forearm that you'd like, and then feeling that stretch, begin lightly trying to press your bottom wrist upward, but not letting anything move in your body. So it's just an isometric contraction. Ramp this up to 10%. Smoothly hit every percentage point to 20%. And then try again to go above 20%, all the way to 30%, but honoring whatever feels safe at your shoulder. Hold this 20 to 30% contraction for 10 more seconds, letting the signal clearly get across to the tissues we're training. 3, 2, 1, relax into stretch. Good. And now, keeping your top arm where it is, try to start reaching your bottom hand away from that top hand. You might create some space or you might not, but we're now turning on that rails contraction again. Okay? As you feel that rails contraction come on, take your top hand away and just hold this arm in space. Okay? Holding with that rotational effort, try to keep reaching your forearm towards the floor, and then start rotating your forearm. So we do a little capsule rotation of your elbow joint. You can see Hannah is using a little target of her top hand finger underneath that wrist to try to max out as much rotation as she can with that bottom arm. Keep working on this elbow rotation at an end range shoulder position, seeing if you can wring out a little bit more elbow rotation in each direction. 10 more seconds. Keep working, trying to fatigue those rails muscles a little bit. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Woo! Okay, go ahead and flip over to the other side. And if all of this is brand new to you and you feel like you're only catching about 50 or 60% of the cues that I'm giving, take heart. This stuff is weird the first couple times you do it, but stay with it and you'll really start to click in the third or fourth time. I think this is, especially with shoulders, this is the case. So find that rotational stretch, making sure your neck isn't shrugging up. Hannah's doing a nice job, but sometimes the scapula likes to ride up to the neck. All right, and then again, selectorize. Do you want your forearm rotated into pronation or into supination? Your choice, but I want you to find it. And you might find that the best stretch for you is somewhere in between, and that is okay as well.
It'd be good to try different ones on different takes.
As you come back to this class too, for second or third watching, I would really recommend taking different positions and working there, because all of those lines often need some love. Okay, so from this end range position, let's begin our final pales contraction, trying to roll or rotate that upper arm, but feeling blocked by the, roll or rotate the bottom arm, but block with the top arm. Ramp it up to 10%. Keep building to 20. And then see if there's a little bit more to give, maybe going up to 30%, maybe staying at 20%, and holding this contraction. Staying consistent with your efforts. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Good. Now from here, try to reverse the rotation of that bottom arm, looking for some more internal rotation or that rails contraction, and then take that top hand away and see if you can maybe give yourself a little target like Hannah's showing with that bottom finger underneath the forearm, and start up your elbow capsule rotation. So you're rotating your arm, the forearm, as far as you can one direction and as far as you can the other direction, the whole time holding a nice strong isometric effort to keep your shoulder internally rotated. 20 seconds here, team. Good. Keep searching. Where can you find more contraction on that bottom side of your body to help you rotate your bicep a little more? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Okay, now we will get back to some rotation here. Go ahead and come onto your back, actually. All right, and you're going to get into what we say like a field goal position with your arms. So both elbows straight out to the side from your armpits. I'd rather have your elbows be more towards your ears than more towards your hips, okay? So make sure they're in a high field goal position. And then start tuning into the active effort of external rotation. So what would make your knuckles or even your wrists heavy into the floor? If you're quite a ways away from the floor, you might think about rolling up a towel or putting a pillow under one or both arms so that you do have contact with your arm against something. It really helps your nervous system figure this out. Okay? Now, it doesn't matter which side, but let's just say the left side is going to stay super heavy and anchored here, and we're going to start capsule rotations with the right side. As you do that rotation, don't let your scapula move, but focus on just moving that shoulder joint. That is where your upper arm meets your torso. And keep going back and forth, capsule rotation, with a nice strong effort here. A few ways to elicit a little bit more effort from your body in this weird motion. First of all, you could imagine that you're suddenly holding on to a 10-pound stone in your hand, and you got a brace to help your body hold that. You could also imagine that at some point, someone in your house is going to come up and try to move your arm, and you have to be braced and ready for that. That can help stiffen up your torso as well. Whatever strategy you're using, keep working hard. 10 more seconds. And smoothly settle back into external rotation, connecting your forearm, wrist, or knuckles to the floor or to the pillow. Start up the other side. And as you reach those knuckles towards the floor, make sure your elbow isn't inadvertently straightening. That is a strategy that sometimes your body employs to try to get to the floor. But best you can, try to keep a 90-degree bend at that elbow joint. Great stuff. 15 more seconds. Bracing your whole body. Make sure that arm that's not moving is actively pressed into the floor or into the supporting object. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Whew. Relax here for a moment. Definitely let your neck come off tension. and snag your block or your towel, either one is totally fine, and place that right between your knees, okay? We're gonna now add a little more contraction through your abs and see if we can use this same setup to help guide some thoracic rotation. Hannah, could you just point to the segment on your torso where your thoracic spine is? Yeah, it's your rib cage area, okay? So we're gonna try to see if we can get rotation from that area in particular. We can help do that by locking in the upper body in that field goal position, and not just placing your arms here, but actively pressing them into the ground, so that if I was there with you, I wouldn't be able to lift your wrists off the floor, okay? That should lock in your upper body. And then keep your back flat here and go ahead and lift your feet off the ground and crush that block or towel as tight as you can. So again, if I was there, I couldn't take that block from you. All right? Now really using your arms for support, you're going to gently start trying to rotate your knees one direction. Go slow so you can stop before it feels like an emergency and start coming back to center. And then rotate over to the other side. Please go slow. This is a very active effort through your torso, and rotation is not always our strongest capacity. Okay? As you continue going back and forth, check in on if your knees are right over your belly button, that's okay, or if they're more over your hips, which will be harder, but also okay. Back. And you might not find that your knees get as close to the floor as Hannah's getting. That's okay. But no matter how far you go, really make sure your upper body is staying still and wrists pressed into the floor. Good. Keep breathing. Don't give in to that temptation to just collapse into a passive stretch. Stay active, 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 so you can come to a complete stop and smoothly bring it back. Let's finish up your final rep. And bring it all the way back. All right. Very nice. Okay, go ahead, come up to a seated position now. We're gonna hit your shoulders from one more angle before we finish up. So seated or tall kneeling is fine. And remember where we always start our shoulder cars, cutting that arm across in an externally rotated position. So go ahead, do that cut across, Hannah. This is, we call it shoulder adduction. Again, no need to know the fancy name, but you do need to know the position, which basically is characterized by your chest tissue getting shorter and therefore the back of your shoulder getting longer. And that's where I want you to focus here at first. Can you find a delightful stretch in that back corner of your armpit? Play with the supporting arm here. Sometimes I find I need to grab a little bit more on the elbow, a little bit more on the wrist, maybe take a different line so that you're not finding an uncomfortable pressure in your chest tissue. Sometimes people find it a little bit better with their hand higher than their shoulder. Okay? And as you do this, per usual with this class, you don't want to let your shoulder blade just shrug up to your ear, but really try to center or bow that stretch right on the back of your arm. Okay? Take a nice deep breath, clarify what that stretch feels like. And then settle your scapula down your back, brace your other arm, and start trying to sweep that stretching arm back across your body and out to the side, but feel that it is blocked by your other arm. So there's a little war going on between your arms. Ramp up the effort of that opposition as hot as feels safe to do so. So really ramp it up to your greatest safe contraction. Hold it for 10 seconds. We're not going to relax at the end of these 10 seconds, so stay braced. 5, 4, 3, 2, and now reverse the direction. So try to bring that stretching arm more across your body. Locate a chest contraction, a really significant one, to hold your arm bone in place as you take your other arm away and hold it. Try to cramp your chest. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Just settle into a gentle stretch. Let your body relax. There we go. And then come out of that stretch. Let's do the other side. Okay? So really the only reason we're doing this is because once we got that capsule to open up, sometimes there's a chance to stretch some more of the superficial tissue on the back of the shoulder. So let's get the other side.
Don't punch your business.
Yeah. Shapow! Okay, so find that arm across. And again, play with the angle of your arm. So it might feel a little bit better to have that arm below your shoulders line or maybe above. You got to kind of hunt for it. I always think of this stretch as soccer practice stretch because when I was playing soccer when I was little, we would always be like, oh yeah, we should do some stretching. And this would be what the coach had us do. How it had to do with soccer for 9-year-olds, I don't know, but this is how names happen in the fitness industry. Okay, so as you clarify that stretch for yourself, take some deep breaths here. And then brace your body nice and strong so nothing is going to move even as you start exerting tension. And start trying to bring that stretching arm across your body, but feel it blocked by the supporting arm. Ramp up that effort to your greatest safe effort that you can with nothing moving. Ramp it up and hold it here, 10 seconds. Try to clearly feel that back corner of your shoulder working and trying to contract. 3, 2, stay braced, and now try to bring your working arm closer to you or more across your body. Find a chest contraction, clear from your shoulder all the way across your chest, maybe even into your bicep. Hold it. 5, 4, 3, cramp your chest tissue. 2, 1, and settle into a stretch again so you can relax. Okay, great stuff, and come out of it. All right, for our final trick here, we're going to really ramp up the effort that you're putting through that back side of your shoulder. And this is one that you, plain and simple, it might not feel like a safe exercise for you to try, just depending on the stability of your shoulder joint. So if you know you have some issues going on at your shoulder and you don't quite trust it, I'd really like you to start again in that field goal position and start with capsule rotations. You could alternate them as we go and just really focus on clarifying that rotation. If, however, you have done some of this capsule training, feel strong, and you're ready to push yourself a bit, you're going to go ahead and move into this eccentric training that we'll show you. So for this one, let's go ahead and work on the right side first. That right arm is going to be on the floor. Your legs are going to be straight up to the ceiling. And you can use the block if you'd like. Squeeze it between your feet or between your knees, just to give your lower body a little clarity about tension. And just take a look here of where we're headed so you know before you start. So just as before, that arm is pressed into the ground. Really feel that clearly. The other arm can just hug your ribs. And then smoothly begin loading more and more weight onto that arm by beginning to roll and rotate. As you feel this arm start to support you, slow down and come even slower towards the floor until finally you bring your legs to the ground and settle. So Hannah, just hang out here. You might notice this is very similar to the sleeper setup that we had before, but with your arm in this externally rotated position. To recover, you would just bend your knees, gently come back onto your back, and keep going for reps. So if you'd like to try this one, go ahead and set up like this, brace your body, feel that arm rotating. Wrist gets heavy, elbow gets heavy, arm gets heavy, and then make it heavier as you gradually shift your body into a rotation. As that pressure loads, go slower and slower and slower. You can see the effort Hannah is putting into that supporting arm to really try to max out the output of the back of the shoulder. Good. Okay, let's keep going. I'm going to ask you at home to do two more, so you do 3 total. So Hannah gets a bonus. Here we go.
I was like, I might only have one. We'll see.
Brace. No, this will be good to see what happens when you really fatigue it. So when the arm comes into the floor, make it heavier and heavier. Start rolling. Doing your best to really slow your legs falling to the floor and set it down. Okay? Your rep might take anywhere from 10 to 20 seconds, but really shouldn't be fast. As you get fatigued, you'll notice that that time gets shorter, but you're still trying to control your descent. Okay, so really go nice and smooth. There we go. Pushing your knuckles into the ground, elbow into the ground, and settle to the floor. Yes. Okay, let's do the other side. All right, so again, find that externally rotated position. And Hannah's able to get her knuckles to the floor. If you're in the case where your external rotation ends like somewhere off the floor, then I would definitely say stay with those capsule rotations for now.
Also play with the...
Yeah, you also play with that elbow rotation to see what feels strongest. So from here, make that arm heavy, neck long, and then start smoothly rolling your body weight to place more and more weight on that arm. There you go, you got it. Slowly controlling your descent. Once you're down, don't try to push back up with the arm, but just roll back nice and easy. Good. There you go, Hannah. You'll have enough space now. 2 more reps, at least 10 seconds. So I'm going to count you down this time. If you're going faster than that, just slow it down. But if you go slower than my count, no problem. You're just getting a little more training. All right, straight legs, heavy hand into the ground. Brace your body and start rolling very slowly to load that hand heavier and heavier. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Okay. Final rep here. When you begin that roll, really aim to get onto the side of your torso. So you're really trying to bring your whole torso into a side lying position, but doing it controlled. Okay? Straight legs, brace up, make that arm heavy, and then here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Hey, great job. All right, lots to take in here. So again, always encourage you to come back to this class if it felt particularly productive, or even if you felt like there was some stuff there that I didn't quite catch. But it will really do quite a bit to upgrade your shoulders. You can see Hannah's doing a little retest of her shoulder car here just to see how things feel different in that joint. So you can go ahead and take those in as well if you'd like. But thank you so much for joining us for another Kinstretch class, and please send us a comment about how it went and how it feels.